Lastly, this is one that I covered in the news show the other day that the freaking recorder didn't record. We have Biden here doing another gaffe, and I want to talk about it because it just shows once again the cognitive decline from this president. It just shows once again this guy doesn't have a clue. And you know what's funny is when I go over the gaffe itself, this was literally echoed almost verbatim by Karine Jean-Pierre on Twitter. It's freaking baffling. I mean, she truly is the mouthpiece of Joe Biden. She fumbles through her words. She says, 25 times in 59 seconds. If you haven't seen that short that we did, folks, go check it out. It's baffling. We did a counter and just watched her straight clip, no edits, 59 seconds, saying 25's us. By the way, on a short, you can only upload a minute. The video clip keeps going on. There's more us in there. Like, and it's repetitive. Like every 4 seconds, there's an It's crazy. She can't talk just like her own boss. President Biden tried to claim Wednesday that the U.S. had zero inflation in July hours after Federal Consumer Price Index showed annual inflation dipping only slightly to 8.5%. If you recall, it was 9.1%. Now it's 8.5%. It's declined a little bit, but he stated zero inflation. Guy's an idiot, folks, which outraged Republicans and other critics who pointed out it's still near a 4-decade high. The latest figures reflected a demand-driven decline in fuel prices, including gasoline, which hit a record national average of $5 per gallon and in mid-June before sliding to a still high average for today. Basically, what happened was fuel prices dropped, even though you had basically everything else go up in price, everything freaking under the sun. It kind of offsetted itself, and so that's where he's getting this zero inflation idea from. So even though you're literally virtually paying more for every consumer good and service out there other than fuel prices, you still have inflation, folks, and he's going to sit there and pander and push all this stuff that there is zero inflation. This is the gaslighting that goes on from this administration, which I know us here at the Bald Brad Show, the avid viewer, the true American patriots are all aware of. I just want to say a number 0, Biden said in the White House East Room before signing legislation granting greater medical and disability benefits to veterans suffering illnesses linked to inhaling toxic smoke. The same legislation that threw in like billions of dollars of stuff that never even went to our military, never went to the medical and disability benefits of our veterans. But Democrats are going to sit there and do a victory lap here, even though they just basically threw like over $300 billion out the window. I'm all for giving our vets $400 billion, whoever the damn thing they need. The hat's there, folks. We just got done talking about Pledge Allegiance. We talked about supporting this country, supporting those that sacrificed for this country. We want to help them, but that's not the way to do it. Throwing all this pork, throwing all the stuff that the Democrats do, it's disgusting. It's something that needs to be done away with, quite frankly. I've always advocated for this. Ben Shapiro's always advocated for this as well. If you want to do something in Congress, if you want to pass legislation, you need to make it plain and simple, one thing at a time. You don't throw in 1,000 things into a 7,000 page document, release it the night before, nobody reads it, everybody passes it. It's not a good way of doing things. It's a really, really bad way of doing things, and you hurt people by doing that. Today, we received news that our economy had 0% inflation in the month of July. 0%, Biden said. Here's what that means. While the price of some things went up last month, the price of other things went down by the same amount. The result, zero inflation last month. The president of the free world. Somebody obviously wrote that for him. There's no way in hell he wrote that, but God, it sounds a lot like him. I mean, can we read that again, please? Today, we received news that the economy had 0% inflation in the month of July. It's just, and then he echoes it again, 0%. Here's what that means. While the price of some things went up last month, the price of other things went down by the same amount. The result, zero inflation last month. It's so hard that my eyes are so watery. It's actually really hard to read that. It's so baffling. It gets better. This is a real thing. I'm not misconstruing this by any means. This is what he said. But still, people are hurting. But 0% inflation last month. Oh my God. Hey, you're still getting your ass kicked, but hey, 0% inflation. So not only are you getting your ass kicked, but he's lying about it too. Biden then proceeded to accidentally step on his own message by urging Congress to pass the Senate-approved Inflation Reduction Act, which he said would keep inflation from getting better. A view advanced by Republicans, but correcting himself to say from getting worse. I mean, it's gaffe after gaffe after gaffe. This is more of a Freudian slip here by him saying that it's basically would keep inflation from getting better. Because it's true. That's exactly what it's going to do. It's not going to help inflation. It basically doesn't do anything in a nutshell. If you look at the stats and the graphs of it and the data, it virtually does zero to inflation. It's not going to do anything. But Yet he's going to throw an Inflation Reduction Act as the acronym, as the title. Go figure. Just gaslighting once again. Biden's rosy spin on the latest inflation report was quickly called out as a misleading by critics, especially after White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre tweeted this. We just received news that our economy had 0% inflation in July. While the price of some things went up, the price of other things like gas, clothing, and more dropped. I mean, what do you say? What do you say? We've all been in those arguments with those Democrats or the progressive left, and it's just like they say so many asinine things in a single sentence that you're just like, where do you start? I mean, do we have the time? Do we have the time of the, like, where into all those dumb things you just said do we start? The Biden administration has tortured relationships with math. This comes from a Representative Virginia Fox on Twitter. Oh my God. She comes from North Carolina. That is great. The Biden administration has tortured relationship with math. And definitions as well. If you recall, trying to redefine freaking what a recession is. Ridiculous BS from the White House, tweeted Senator Ted Cruz. There's an 8.5% inflation and basically everyone and everything everyone ever buys went up in price. This is just a cruel gaslighting from the Biden administration. Either the White House doesn't understand what inflation is or they just don't care, said Representative Kevin Hern of Oklahoma. That doesn't change the pain and hardship that Americans are enduring because of their failed policies. Failed policies domestically, foreign. The failure is everywhere in this Biden administration. It's a bogus math trick. This is just the overall 1 month index change. Overall, that means that is a big drop in fuel and oil and gas following previous massive monthly increases, swamped the huge increases everywhere else. This comes from a tweet by Jeffrey Tucker, president of the Brownstone Institute think tank. So he's just saying what I said, right? One area goes this way, the other area goes this way. It ends up evening itself out. That's basically what the Biden administration is doing. It's just a little mathematical gimmick and trip to make it seem like they're actually doing something. Check this one out. This comes from Tucker as well, the Jeffrey Tucker that we just read. He said this going on. Using the same tactic, you could also observe a 1 month 19.2% increase in electricity. But of course, we would not do that because that's dumb. The actual increase is 15.2%, which would get the calculating year over year, which is what they get by calculating it year over year, rather. John Cooper, director of media and public relations at the Conservative Heritage Foundation, tweeted, Joe Biden claims multiple times that there was zero inflation in July. Absolutely false. Year over year inflation was 8.5%. So this is what they're going to do. This is what they're going to continue to peddle. And I'm going to leave you with a couple more things here, folks. Check this out. Because it really just exposes and it shows you how baffling and how much this administration really gaslights the American public week after week. The Bureau of Labor Statistics laid the data out in black and white, reporting the highest annual jump in food prices since the 1970s, with a 1.3% bump in at-home food costs from June to July, and a 10.9%, basically 11% food cost jump in the past year. Quote, the all items less food and energy index rose 5.9% over the last 12 months, referring to so-called core inflation. The energy index increased 32.9% for 12 months, ending July, a smaller increase than the 14.6% increase from the period ending June. The food index increased 10.9% over last year, the largest 12-month increase since the period ending May 1979. We're taking place before I was ever even alive, before I was ever freaking even thought of. So Biden administration, folks. Lastly, overall annual inflation was 9.1% in June, the highest rate since 1981. Critics blame Biden's policies, including large spending bills, while the White House has blamed an array of other factors, including COVID-19, supply chain bottlenecks, and the Russian invasion. Notice none of that includes himself for the idiotic decisions he continually makes from that podium, from the Oval Office. It's ridiculous. It's a bunch of shenanigans. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.